I'm tying the iron blue dun from the illustration in Mary Orvis Marbury's book, Favorite Flies in Their Histories. I'm using some wine or claret silk thread, which I'm waxing, and I'm using a number 8 hook. Mary says that this fly is to be tied small, and I think for the late 1800s, what we call a size 8 would be a small hook. I've compared the hook to the photograph of the actual fly, and I think it's very close to that size. Just putting 2 layers of the silk out here at the front of this hook. I have cut the eye off of the hook to make it blind, since these are not available commercially now. And then I will just take my fake gut, which is a length of silk thread that I've waxed and twisted against itself. I want to keep that on the bottom. And then just tight wraps back, keeping that leader on the bottom of the hook shank. If it wraps up around the side, it's not real critical. I'll take and just cut out half of that. That way I can taper it back. And try to keep that at the torque of the thread is bringing it up on top, but that's all right. It's all going to get hidden. Keep my thread waxed. Waxing silk does 2 things. It helps to preserve the silk because it will deteriorate, but it also makes it sticky so that it helps to hold the ingredients on the hook. Particularly hold this leader on. That leader is on there tight. It won't come off. You can fish this fly and that's not going to pull off. I'll start by tying in a piece of tinsel. I'm using contemporary 2-sided mylar or 2-colored mylar. It's silver on one side, gold on the other. I want the gold to show, so I'm tying it with the gold towards the hook, and then as I wrap it, I flip it so that the gold shows, and then I'm just going to take a few wraps down the bend. All I'm doing is creating a tag, a gold tag that will sit underneath of the tail. Bring my thread back up over the top of that. Catch it in. I don't want to create too much bulk back here, but because I do have that wider tie-in with the leader, I'm okay with tying a little bit of stuff on the back here. Clip out the extra. There are 6 recipes for this fly in J. Edson Leonard's Flies, and all of them say to use coot for the wing and some of them for the tail as well. So I don't have coot. I don't know if we can even use coot in the United States anymore, but I do have some dark waterfowl feathers. So I've just taken a few barbs off of one of those feathers and tying that in as the tail. And I'll go ahead and clip out the butt ends here. Try not to create too much bulk. Keep my thread back here at the tail. And then for the body, I'm using just some dark gray dubbing. I'm not even sure what this dubbing is. It could be muskrat. I'm trying to think, because I think this is some dubbing that I've prepared, pulled off of a hide, but I have it in a container that I forgot to label. But just some dark gray dubbing. So Mary does talk about how this fly was very well written about, or at least the bug, the iron blue dun, was well documented as a insect imitated in fishing, and that it is tied in a variety of shades. And she is really early on in that whole match the hatch kind of mentality that we have now with fly fishing, that she said that it ought to be tied in whatever shade was appropriate for whatever the particular mayfly, that is the iron blue dun, showed in the particular waters that were being fished. If I build a little bit of taper going forward, that's quite fine. As a matter of fact, it's kind of what they did in the illustrated fly. Whatever this fur is, I've got quite a bit of guard hair in it too that I'm trying to pull out. The illustration does show kind of a buggy body, but it doesn't have a lot of long hair like we would a guard hair. And the original fly also has what does seem to be a dubbed body on it, but not a lot of junk all over the place. So I'm going to go in and go ahead and clip out some of these longer guard hairs. Keep the body fairly clean with a little bit of bugginess to it as the illustration shows. I want just a little bit more. Waxed thread will help that dubbing stick to the thread. And just bring it up. I don't want to crowd the front, or I will be tying in the hackle and the wings. And come back a little ways to give me some space there for the hackle and the wings. Clip off those longer hairs. Those are some guard hairs in this dubbing. I'm using this rooster cape. You can see I've plucked a lot of stuff out of it already. It's a light blue dun cape, and I'm looking for hackles that are going to be kind of from the where I tie them in down to the point of the hook that kind of fills that space, but I don't want them overly long. So I'm going to clip off the fluffy stuff at the front. Pull down, let me see. Yeah, I think those barbs are about right. Maybe on the short side, but I think that's okay. This is called a crew cut. Clipping those barbs at the base real short, that gives the thread something to grab onto. And grab that feather with my hackle pliers and do a few twists, a few wraps. I did tie it with the shiny side up or forward. That will cause the barbs to lean towards the back of the hook, although they're fairly short barbs, so there's not a lot of lean in them. And because it's a rooster, they're stiffer, but I think very much like the barbs in the illustration. So then I'm just pulling back on those barbs and wrapping back on them. That will get them to lay back somewhat. Because this is a wet fly, I want that wet fly lean back, and this is a softer, webbier feather. It's not the contemporary genetically engineered dry fly hackle. So I'm looking for that kind of in between the rooster feather and the hen feather. A webbier rooster feather, not a hen feather. I was given this very handy hackle gauge. So there are 2 points on it, and I put those the distance from the point to the shank of the hook. That's called a gape. And then I can just run that through my feather. Grab that amount out of the feather for the wings. We call it a slip or a quill wing. So I have 2 of those that are the width of the hook gape, and I want the tip of my feather to be about even with the bend of the hook. I'm going to lay them down between the hackle barbs on top, and this is very characteristic of the way the Orvis flies were tied. The wings were tied in after the hackle was tied on, so I'm going to pinch that those 2 feathers very tight, and then put my thread underneath of the hook and pull up and cinch down and do a couple wraps to hold it in place. Let go and see how that looks. They did collapse a little bit on themselves, but I'm going to be okay with that. I'll go ahead and clip out the butt ends now without cutting the leader. Put some more wax on my thread. And carefully wrap up over the butt ends of those feathers that are the wing, because I want to make sure that I don't fall off the end of the hook and wrap onto the leader. Some more wax is going to help with my half hitches. So what I need to do with my half hitches is get them around that leader. So I'll just make a nice large half hitch loop. Take it over the leader and then get it up on the head and pull it up tight. And I did catch in 1 hackle barb. And I will see if I can pull that out. There we go. And that wing feather is wanting to split. So I'll do 3 of those half hitches with the waxed thread. Get them to sit on the head. Okay, what happened here? I keep catching in that hackle barb. I don't want to do that. Okay. Try to do this so my fingers aren't in the way of the camera. Go ahead and just push my scissors against the thread to cut it out. And then I will contemporize this by putting a drop of diluted goop on the head. The reason I use the claret thread is that imitates the color of the finished heads on the Orvis flies. It looks a little bit dark while it's wet, but my diluted goop will dry clear. The Orvis flies were tied with either black or red silk, and they were lacquered with the old-fashioned dark lacquer that changed the red to that wine or claret color. So in order to mimic that with a contemporary head cement that doesn't change the color of the thread, I do use the claret thread when I tie the Mary Orvis Marbury flies, and in this case the iron blue dun.